I'm going to share with you now two topics that we have at flownews24.com.au fastidiously avoided talking about because you're hearing about it in so many other media outlets. And that's not because we can't be bothered, but because we think that you want topics that are relevant to you in your local area, in Victoria, New South Wales and South Australia. And you're getting bombarded with all this talk about the first topic, the COVID-19 pandemic and the latest border closures and matters like that, but also all this sordid stuff going on in Canberra, all these allegations that are coming out and mud being thrown there. So we've tried avoiding talking about those things, but I'm going to talk about them right now. So I gave you that warning a little earlier in the program. Maybe just keep your radio close by, turn the volume down a bit, and we'll talk about some of this stuff that's going on in the background after the Prime Minister called a press conference 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time last night, and he wanted to announce that there were going to be adjustments to the vaccination program. This all spins out of the concerns that have emerged about the AstraZeneca vaccine. We raised this on the Flow News 24 website some weeks ago when we noticed that Scandinavian countries were starting to pull back from using the vaccine over concerns surrounding a blood clot. That spread to other countries in Europe, and then other countries around the world were starting to get very cautious about using this jab because of this risk. We asked the Chief Medical Officer about this. They gave us some quotes, what we provided in the story, that all was well and that we could be proceeding to use the vaccine. But the concerns have centred more so around the people under the age of 50 and whether the vaccine could put them at risk, a very slight risk of contracting a blood clot. And now the government have said overnight they have accepted expert advice and they are going to recommend against people taking that jab if you're under the age of 50, and they will shift to using the Pfizer vaccine. Now, the Pfizer vaccine is harder to come by numerically. There's a lot less of them going around than the AstraZeneca vaccine. Australia had some of those on order and they are struggling to get them out of Europe. So the vaccination program will still go ahead, but they're going to have a bit of a tougher time getting their hands on Pfizer vaccine because it's in such high demand. John McDonnell, our Canberra correspondent, raised his experience of having the AstraZeneca jab earlier in this week on flownews24.com.au. He's someone over the age of 50, so he's still a good candidate to receive that vaccination. But he did mention that he weighed up the risk between getting a blood clot and the risk of actually dying from COVID-19, and the latter he thought was of a greater concern, so he went ahead and got the jab. But the timing of this press conference, there were cynics in Canberra, and I don't apologise for being a cynic about what happens in politics because so often I've seen the cynical view is actually what's going on. The timing of a late night press conference was very interesting because at the same time some serious allegations were emerging regarding sexual acts between men at Parliament House. These are allegations that have been floating around for a while. They link back to the sordid act on a desk that others have been talking about for some time in politics in Canberra, and that this disclosure of that video might well be an act of revenge porn released by the former partner of someone who's now being accused of other acts in Parliament House. There's allegedly 6 individuals who are under investigation, some of whom are still working in Parliament House. The complainant, according to one media report, never worked in Parliament himself, but had sex with another man in Parliament House that he met on a gay dating app, and he claims he has extensive evidence to support his allegations. All I'll say about that is it has been a strong focus on women and how they are treated in Parliament House, but it will be intriguing to see whether the media circle very carefully around these allegations, pretend they haven't happened, or whether they'll treat them with the same severity that they have allegations between men and women in Parliament House.